Alrighty, we are back. So in our last lecture, we talked about the wonderful world of rough cuts. That's really your first step when it comes to editing together a video. When you do a rough cut, a lot of times you leave out any elaborate elements you plan on adding later. For example, you might plan on creating a cool intro with titles and graphics and stuff, but the rough cut is just a quick throwing together of a working version of the main part of your video. Now, a lot of times, in fact, editors leave the intros and outros and other more elaborate pieces for the end when they can actually devote more time and they don't have to worry about the rest of it being in disarray. However, one way to speed up the process of creating these elements is to use templates, and this is what I want to cover in this lecture. Now, video templates are usually available in any of the editing programs you use. The makers of these programs know that whether people are making ads, explainer videos, walkthroughs, whatever, that those videos have common pieces to them. Specifically, many videos are going to include intros, lower thirds, or things like slideshows. Now, of course, don't rely too much on these templates that are built into the programs because oftentimes they can look cheap because people will recognize them because they're so overused. It often looks like you put the minimum amount of effort into it. It's kind of like when you read someone's paper and it's written in that font that everybody associates with Microsoft Word, Calibri. If you see Calibri font, it's like, wow, you didn't even think about changing the font. You just went with the default that was given to you. Anyway, back to some of those things I mentioned: intros, lower thirds, and slideshows. Well, intro titles, that's the thing I just mentioned, are pieces of video that run at the beginning of explainers or podcasts or other episodes of series of videos. It's basically what you see before movies and TV episodes as well. They include titles of some kind as well as some animated funkiness, graphics, music, other pieces of video, you name it. Just so you can see what I mean, I can throw up one of the ones that we use right now for my lectures. You might have seen it, I'm not sure. Now, there's multiple ways you can call these things. I call them intros. Sometimes they're called bumpers because they're put at the very beginning and end of your clips, kind of like bookends. But technically, they're like intro titles. Now, they can be done in so many different ways, but at their core, it's usually just a list of words and names to show in some kind of cool way. It's also usually pretty short. People generally hate it when it goes, say, longer than 8 seconds. So these intro titles are a common type of template you will often find. Then what you've got are called lower thirds, which is a classic type of graphic dating back to the early days of television. Lower thirds are graphics that get displayed, you can guess it, in the lower third part of your screen. They're used to show the name and title of someone, or a location name, or these days it could be, to repeat any important statements or tips that are being described by the speaker. It could be really anything. Now again, this is a text-based effect that lots of people have created templates for, so there's a lot of variations in it. I also wouldn't be surprised if you see me doing this in a lot of my lectures. And then you've got slideshows, which, yes, can be a series of pictures shown in sequence on screen, but they can also be used to show video clips. So instead of text being the important content display, it's pictures or videos. Whether you've got some animated effect or some split screen type things happening, there are a lot of ways to show your various visuals on screen. So in case you're still wondering why use templates, rather than learn how to create all of these effects and sequences yourself, you can take advantage of the expertise others have. It's fantastic, it saves you an enormous amount of time. A lot of times, all you have to do is drag and drop your own video onto the parts of the template where it goes and your work is done. Or you put it in and then you just select the attributes and then type in the text where you need it. It obviously saves time and money, and it does oftentimes add a professional, nice little touch to it, assuming you do it well and you don't pick the cheesiest one you can find. Plus, if you use templates to do the cooler, more work-intensive parts of your video, like the intro and the outro, for example, you can devote your attention to the main part of your video and focus on making that as good as possible. Leave the elaborate graphics and effects to the professionals out there creating those templates. So where can we find them? Well, I've actually showed you examples of templates from a website called motionarray.com. Now, last time I checked, they had something like 700 templates you could use in Premiere, and they include things like logo sequences, slideshows, lower thirds, and some other really funky other things. There are also design studios out there that create those templates. Rampant Design's an example of a design studio that sells more premium templates along with motion graphics and other fun stuff you can add to your Premiere projects. If you guys work with Final Cut Pro, there's Motion VFX, where they have a lot of templates, but also special effects. You can also get a lot of templates on websites like Theme Forest. That's one. It'll usually take you to, I think it's like Graphic Jungle or something like that. They have a bunch of sub brands underneath that. But Theme Forest is a good place to start. Another place off the top of my head is Envato Marketplace. Throw it up here on screen. Here's another place where you can buy things like opening sequences and closing sequences. You can also just Google free intro title or free bumpers, free intro, free outro, things like that. There are some free ones out there that you can get, and yeah, they're decent. Now, if you have a specific need like a style or a look, then a Google search should help you find what you need. Or you could use an existing template and edit it to better reflect what you want. But again, you can outsource this work. Instead of trying to find the perfect template, you can also find someone on a freelance website like Fiverr, for example, and tell them, hey, here's this great template on motion array that I love, but I need something that better matches my company and style, and I prefer the sequence to be faster, have my colors. Actually, let's change the motion here, put in my logo, whatever. If you give specific direction on what you want exactly, there's tons of freelancers that actually specialize in just editing these templates for you. We'll actually discuss outsourcing video work in the next lecture, if that sounds like a plan to you. So one other benefit of templates is once you have a template you like and it works, you can use it as much as you want. Use your intro template just before every video, not just one. Establish a style for lower thirds that you can use in all your videos, not just one. In other words, if you buy a template or outsource the creation of one, or at least the customization of one, use it a lot and get your money's worth. Generally speaking, buying templates is pretty simple. Go to any of these websites that I've mentioned. We'll throw some in the resources. You generally just download them, and then you can literally drag and drop it into Premiere or Final Cut Pro, and it'll pop up on your timeline. Or you can import it by going to File and then Import, but that's actually like the long way of doing it. If you can't figure it out, you need to customize it. Again, that's why Fiverr is so great. You can spend $5 and someone will do it for you. Anyway, guys, that's it. See you next lecture.